spectrum to get the spectral envelope. So let's move into our next topic, Mel frequency analysis. So let's stop a bit and then review what we did. We captured spectral envelope from the spectrum. That means we got a curve connecting all these formats. Okay, so we said this is a good feature to be used in speech recognition experiments. But the perceptual experiments which deal with human perceptual behavior, what they have found out is that human ear concentrates on certain regions rather than using whole of the spectral envelope. That means the human ear concentrate on some parts of this spectral envelope rather than using this entire curve. Okay, so how somebody can find out, or like what are those frequency regions, what are those concentration points? It's a different field that's called speech perception. So we are not going to deal too much into that, but let's just stick to the point that this analysis is known as Mel frequency analysis, because Mel is a person who has done it. That's where it's referred to as Mel frequency analysis. So Mel frequency analysis is based on human perception experiments. So it is observed that human ear acts as a filter. That means it passes, or like each filter. So it actually, human ear acts as a set of filters. So each filter, it concentrates on certain frequency components. Okay, and another thing is that these filters are non-uniformly spaced in the frequency axis. What do you mean by that? We mean that we have got more filters in the low frequency region and less number of filters in the high frequency region. That's what we mean by non-uniformly spaced filters. So what's the crux here? The crux is human ear concentrates on only certain regions in the frequency axis, and by means of using filters. So these filters are non-uniformly spaced. That means there are more filters in the low frequency and there are less filters in the high frequency. So this is the property of the human ear. So this has been found out by the human perceptual experiments. So why we are talking about it? We are talking about it because if we can replicate the same process in our feature extraction, that means our speech recognition system would behave like human ear. So that's a goal. So that's our purpose of doing this. So let's see how these Mel frequency filters are being spaced. This is a simulation. This is not exactly the axis, I mean this is not the exact number of filters. It's just a simulation to understand the concept of Mel frequency analysis. So this is the filter we mean here. So if we have a filter like this, what does it do? It will just give you or concentrates only the frequency components in this region. So it will eliminate, or it won't consider the frequency components to the left of it, to the right of it. So it will concentrate only the frequency components on or inside this filter. So this is called band pass filter, because it will pass some of the frequency components between these two bounds. Okay, so you have first filter here, and then you have second filter, third filter, fourth filter, fifth filter. So you have a series of filters that would come out in the frequency axis. So if you observe carefully here, you have got more filters in the low frequency region and less number of filters in the high frequency region. Okay, so there are about 41 filters that are found out to be effective. I am not drawing all of them, and then these 41 filters have got a specific position to be spaced in the frequency axis. So that position, or like the scale which tells you where to place each filter, that's called MEL scale. Okay, so for the time being, just stick to basic part here, that MEL frequency filters are the filters which are non-uniformly spaced on the frequency axis to simulate human ear properties. Okay, so what you get out of it is, if you have a spectrum and then if you apply MEL filters here, you get MEL spectrum. Okay, so let's say now that we want to denote this MEL spectrum as x of k, and then if you take log of it, you get log MEL spectrum. So the moment you get this equation log x of k, you can simply perform capstral analysis on log x of k. So log x of k is been represented as log h of k plus log e of k. Taking I of 50 would give you this, x of k is equal to h of k plus e of k. So now h of k, which are the low frequency region of this x of k, denote spectral envelope of the MEL spectrum. Okay, and because this is the capstrum obtained by using these operations, so h of k obtained for MEL spectrum are referred to as MEL frequency capstral coefficients, often denoted by MFCCs. Okay, so please understand that we have used capstral analysis on the MEL spectrum. Okay, and the capstral coefficients we get by applying capstral analysis on MEL spectrum is referred to as MEL frequency capstral coefficients. So capstral analysis is a technique of getting the spectral envelope, and then since we have applied it on MEL spectrum, which is the human ear simulation part of the spectrum, that's where we are calling it as MFCCs. Okay, so these MFCCs are dominant, are widely used in speech recognition purpose. That's where we study MFCCs in this lecture here. Okay, so let's understand a bit more about the feature extraction process we have done here. So in the lecture 2 we covered only up to this point. That means you have a region short analysis window. There's a this is full speech signal. You break them into short analysis window, and each analysis window, on each analysis window you apply an FFT, get the spectrum. So in this lecture we gained some more knowledge that we do post-processing of the spectrum. We just don't take the spectrum as it is, but then we simulate some human ear properties. That's where we apply MEL filters here. Once you apply MEL filters here, so what you get is MEL spectrum, and MEL spectrum goes through capstral analysis, and then you get the spectral envelope, which is denoted as h of k, or which is referred to as capstral coefficients normally. Okay, so you do the same process for all the analysis window, and ultimately you get a sequence of capstral vectors. So now the speech signal is represented as sequence of capstral vectors. Okay, it's important to understand that. So because it is these capstral vectors that are given as features to the speech recognition systems. So we have gone through a process where we understand that FFT, taking the spectrum, taking the spectral envelope, then doing the MEL frequency analysis, then doing the capstral analysis, and finally getting the capstral vectors. So a feature extraction is a process of representing the speech signal as a sequence of capstral vectors. Okay, so once you have these capstral vectors, that means MFCCs, MEL frequency capstral vectors, how they are useful to us? So they are useful to us in speech recognition mainly, because MFCC are mostly used features in state-of-art speech recognition systems. They are also useful in speech synthesis. So let's see how. Let's say you want to join two speech segments, S1 and S2. So, but if you join at any place, then you would get disjoints. That means you would get bad concatenation. So to get good concatenation points, so what you do, you represent speech segment 1 as a sequence of MFCCs and speech segment 2 as a sequence of MFCCs. So now join at a point where MFCCs of S1 and S2 have minimal Euclidean distance. Okay, so that means you take the MFCCs of S1 and S2 and compare each of them with the other coefficients, and then join these two segments at a point where MFCCs of these two segments have minimal Euclidean distance. That means the joining cost is less. Okay, so this is one of the usefulness of the MFCCs in speech synthesis. We'll deal more about it. I'm just trying to demonstrate that MFCCs are useful in speech synthesis too in this slide. But as I said, they are mostly, our major purpose of discovering these features is in the field of speech recognition, where they are used as state-of-art features in state-of-art speech recognition systems. Okay, so we are ready to summarize our feature extraction. So this is our last lecture in this feature extraction in this course. So speech is analyzed over short analysis window, and for each short analysis window a spectrum is obtained using FFT. The obtained spectrum is passed through MEL filters to simulate human ear to obtain what we call MEL spectrum. Once you obtain this MEL spectrum, we perform capstral analysis on top of it, and we get MEL frequency capstral coefficients. So thus speech is represented as a sequence of capstral vectors. It is these capstral vectors which are given to pattern classifiers or statistical models such as hidden Markov models for speech recognition purpose. You can get the additional reading from these pages and from chapter 6 of the textbook. Thank you.